Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this month's growth series, where we're pleased today to be talking about supply path optimization and really who owns the path to the consumer. It should be a lively debate. We have a fantastic panel lined up for you today, led by Ryan, who will be talking through everything to do with supply optimization. And as I say, the debate around exactly who owns the path to consumer and who should own the path to consumer. So without further ado, let's get going. Ryan, over to you.
Thanks, Ian. Welcome everyone, and thank you for taking the time for most of you, I know it's your lunch break. As Ian said, today we are asking who owns the path to the consumer. Agencies say they do, exchange say that they should, and we have a couple of brand advertisers on this panel who might have very different answers. And I'd also say that we've got good experts because between them, they've covered nearly every part of the supply chain, so are very qualified to talk about this topic. So let me introduce everyone for you. We have Trevor from Radix, he's head of investments. We have Saad, head of product and partnerships at Dentsu. We have Swati, who's head of brand marketing at Kids First Group. And we have Patricia Dixon, not Nadia, who's the global head of programmatic for Capital.com. As usual, we have some technical issues on every call, right? So thank you, Patricia, for making it happen. Right. So I'll let each one of you tell me in one sentence, please. What does supply path optimization mean to you in your day job? Who wants to go first, or should I pick someone?
I
Swati.
can go first.
Oh,
Who wants?
answer.
We could all go first. I'll start because I think there's probably going to be a lot of similarities, I guess, in some of the answers we might end up having. But from a brand perspective, it's efficiency and quality when it comes to access, and then also, I guess, being able to work with partners who add value beyond just access.
Thank you, Patricia.
Actually, you're right that it will be very similar. So for us as well, I mean, it's actually more of reducing inefficiencies, uh, like in the supply chain itself. I mean, probably we need to explain a couple of principles. We're trying to reduce, when we say supply optimization, we're trying to reduce fraud. We're trying to reduce made for advertising websites from the inventory, and we're trying to pick the shortest path from the advertiser all the way to publisher. So by doing that, we're reducing extra cost, so reducing inefficiencies, and plus prioritizing high quality inventory, looking at what each impression is delivering, will be able to optimize towards better outcome overall. So that's the long version of it.
I kind of align with Saad saying the same thing. It's almost the same. We'll all echo the same opinion. It's accountability, transparency, what we get more for the buck that we spend, and how all the KPIs are met from a client perspective, an agency perspective, from a platform perspective. So I think that's what SPO stands for, to optimize the part of supply, basically. So yeah, I think it's the same for all three.
I think I echo all of them. So basically, in very plain words, saying that when we sign off a digital budget, more of it really reaches the right consumer, in our case, the right parent, and actually very less disappears into the infrastructure that we don't know as where the part of our budget is going into. So really like optimizing the budget to reach the right parent and the right consumer in the most efficient, form of budget.
Okay, so everyone's aligned at the start of this session. Let's see if that continues. Let us start with an honest check on where MENA actually is on SPO. Right, so Saad, holding companies have been talking about SPO for years globally. Where is MENA on that journey compared to the likes of the US and UK?
The MENA is definitely behind, but I mean, like MENA does for everything, we catch up very quickly. I remember, I mean, a few years back when we were looking at this is where it comes out the most. You see the difference in like global pitches, and you can see that the like markets like the UK, the US are talking a totally different language. What do I mean? We do SPO here. All agencies know SPO and everyone runs it. But the difference is what comes into it. So we're looking at reducing expenses. We said maximizing efficiencies, but what they use, the supply chain is far much more intelligence gathering. The transparency models are more advanced than they are here. And they use that for outcome based activities more than we do here. We're still at the efficiency stage, but I think we're advancing quickly. I know other agency groups are doing the same now, pushing towards that. But I mean, in Dentsu we have dedicated solutions like Dentsu Media Exchange, our CTV marketplace, and all that, in order to push towards better outcome, pretty much, from our programmatic activities.
Okay.
To add to Hassad is saying is, some of the things that what helps MENA in this region is a lot of markets have already developed these platforms. There's already availability, the infrastructure is there, everything's there. MENA just has to adapt to it, and we move fast. Once MENA adapts to it, it'll really move very fast. So it's there. It's just how we use it there for the taking.
Okay.
Can I just add something to that, if you don't mind?
Of course.
It's funny because I think with MENA, obviously there's sometimes a lot of direction does come from Europe first, and it's almost like a lot of the testing and incubation happens first, and it's almost like, MENA gets the opportunity to see what's worked and what's not worked and adapt a lot quicker. It's also a slightly different market. There's a lot more resellers locally here, right? So we're talking about like SPO and supply parts, like just purely on the SSP side of things. Like there's a few more chains that happen in MENA for us to be able to have access to global inventory. So it's not as straightforward as sometimes it might be like in the US or the UK. And I think like MENA, although yes, we can take learnings from other regions, it is going to be very much like we have to do what's best for this region.
Agreed. Trevor, as a person leading investments at an independent agency, how does SPO factor into your buying decisions? And do you have more freedom to optimize supply paths than the holding companies?
So at Radix, for us, investment sits at the heart of how we do things, because it's not about a trading desk function. It's how we strategically kind of partner with partners who give us, that freedom of getting transparency, being accountable for the brands that we work on. I wouldn't say it's more about freedom. It's less about freedom. It's more about our intentions. Are we kind of building on that? A good investment, as we say in this piece, means able to look at a client eye to eye and say that we know where your money is, we know why, and we know what to deliver. That's what we want to deliver to a client. That's what we want to kind of hold up, and that's how we want to build these partnerships and cultures, build this ecosystem for brands that we work on.
Okay, thank you. And let's move over to the brands, right? So, Swati, when your team runs a digital campaign, do you know how many intermediaries sit between your budget and the final ad impression? And does it even matter to you?
So honestly, we don't know. And I'll be 100% transparent. Do we want to know? Yes, because I think once we know, it helps us better plan everything together with the agency so that we know how we're actually optimizing the budgets. But is that 100% level of transparency there? No. And it is an uncomfortable truth. And we've tried to bring that discussion to the front many a times. But I think the system is so complex that for people like sitting on this side, unless and until we're doing it every day, hands-on and getting our hands dirty, no.
If only there was someone running a session so that everyone could learn more. I mean, thank you for that. Patricia, you've worked at Magnite, Omnicom, Amazon Ads, and now Capital.com. Where have you seen SPO have the most tangible impact, and where is it still just talk?
Yeah, I've been around the industry, so to speak. honestly, it's had impact from various lenses. It really depends on what side you're sitting on. At Magnite, I think what was really good there was because it bridged the gap between advertisers and SSPs. And often there's like a really long link in the communication chain. You've got, advertisers, agencies, DSPs, SSPs, and there was just not that full end-to-end communication. We talk about obviously reducing the links in the supply chain, but it's the same can be said for the feedback on, well, what does good outcome actually look like, and being able to hear it directly from the advertiser's mouth. And I think also SPO has allowed for, I would say, like better, closer working relationships between both the buy and the sell side. And we've seen this surface through like, marketplace curations and also like some levels of transparency within the buying models. But I would probably say like the most impact is had when, open and honest communication moves beyond just like a theory and actually into, I think someone mentioned this before, but how budgets are allocated and how spend is consolidated. Because essentially the main thing is like if you build these stronger relationships, in essence, like it should then also lead to stronger outcomes. And I'd probably say like from like where is it just talk? On my side, it's probably around, the lack of a clear framework on how partners are evaluated and should be evaluated. Sometimes it does kind of feel like it's each to their own, sort of to try and figure it out. And as Swati mentioned, from like a brand side of things, it's not the easiest chain to start digging into. It's really convoluted, and if you're doing everything brand direct, you often don't necessarily have the amount of people that you require to actually get SPO off the ground properly. So this is where I think agencies obviously have the benefit there. They do have a lot of the internal resource to actually do this at mass, where a lot of the times brands can be seen as like a nice to have.
And just to add to, I was going to call you Nadia, just to add to Patricia's point, a lot of the times when we have, say, for example, brand teams are small, correct? And not everyone comes with that extensive knowledge of media. So when these discussions happen, and if you're not fully equipped to be able to also challenge agencies, you really don't know what conversations to have with agencies to be able to at least improve the system. So again, no, going back to the point of transparency, and if you really work as partners to get to know the system to be enough to challenge and curate in a way where you're actually building for the benefit of the brand, by aligning in terms of like the objectives and stuff, but not to be able to get as much information when you actually become the media house, right? Like, because it's not something that we can do. Because one, we're not trained enough to do that. Two, we don't have enough knowledge. Do we want to? Yes. But just to be able to like challenge, to be able to make the process better. That's it.
Ryan, I was at the. I want to jump in. I got excited here.
I was going to
I
ask you
was on
to
the
jump in, actually. Go ahead.
I was on the client side, like brand side, couple of years back. So I've seen both ends. And honestly, and I was even lucky to be part of a company where you had a media team, not a marketing team that does media. So already we're focused on media only. And still, you don't have the time to sit. I mean, why would the client on the client side? I mean, why would the company hire a media team and then go through all this process with the agency, which is time consuming, and yes, it requires certain level of expertise. That's it. You work with an agency, you trust the agency, they do the work. Yes, they can see the reporting. I mean, that's the end goal, but they don't go through the step-by-step process. Otherwise, you have two groups doing the same job, repeating the same details and all that, and it is technical and it is time consuming. For our end, I mean, just even think about the agencies, what they're doing today. You have even for Dentsu, you have a programmatic team, but you have a specialized curation team that looks more on the SSP side, etc. So that's a lot of work.
Is there enough knowledge in the agency side, Saad?
Here's on the agency side. I mean, this is why we recruit people from the SSP side and more on the supplier side, the ex-publishers, SSP, specialist, etc. Because I'll speak from my experience when we were starting to build our own marketplaces, etc. Yeah, we struggled because the guys that are here in this market at least are mostly on the SP side, and they're more specialized about activation rather than curation, which is a different mindset and expertise. So yeah, you
Right.
don't have enough. But
Okay.
don't tell the team because that means I have to give raises every year. So
In the spirit of being fair, I'll put myself and competitors in the headlights as well. Like, do you get enough support from your suppliers and SSPs to educate?
I mean, it's changing very quickly as we speak. It's changing. At least, I mean, Trevor, feel free to jump in. But from the last 2 years, I've seen a massive change. Plus, I mean, when it comes to I mean, the partners we work with, I mean, we're talking about mostly international experts. I mean, we were talking here, Magnite. You talk PubMatic. You talk that level of expertise. No, they're fully supportive, and they help you through the process. Plus they educate not only the agencies, but they also help in the education with the partners, I mean with the publishers themselves. So they are the middleman that helps both.
I'm with Saad on this. The learning has evolved in the last 2 years, if I may say so, uh, with a lot of international uh, platforms coming to the market. The learning, the exchange of information between brand and agencies also has evolved. Not that everybody knows everything, but there are certain amount of information that is clear with everybody, that sits with everybody for that transparency, for that that you want to go about with. As Saad clearly mentioned, there is an evolution in terms of education away in this thing.
Okay, great. Right, let's pick up the pace. We're going to do true or false myth busting. Right, so I'm going to read a statement. Each one of you is going to say true or false, and then you have 45 seconds to defend your answer. Right? So, number one, most brand advertisers in MENA can name the SSPs their campaigns run through. Let's start with Patricia.
False. I actually don't think the majority can. I think there's a lot that can, but not most. It's often can be seen as a bit of like a nice to have. They're more focused around like the publishers or the domains or wherever they're actually accessing as opposed to the route to access. So yeah.
Swati?
Yeah, I think I'm with Patricia. No. And she's covered up the answer completely in one line. No. False.
Trevor?
He summed it up. It's false.
Is it going to be unanimous, Saad?
No, but I'll explain why. Because if your car needs servicing, you take it to a garage that you trust, and they'll do the whole work for you and explain what happened and all that. And if there was any broken part, they fix it and tell you about it. Do you really need to sit next to the guy doing the work and go into every single detail there? No. So why would they? I mean, again, I know I come hard as an agency side thinking, okay, the client shouldn't know anything about that, and we, the agency, will handle the whole thing. It's not that. I'm just saying, in my experience, it's too much work. But knowing the SSP names, yeah, that's easy. A lot of agency teams are moving to the client side, so give it some time, and they'll all be speaking the same language very soon.
So speak
Actually,
your
the point to
language.
this is even if we know the SSP names, do we really, really understand
Thank
the
you.
nuances
No,
of the
not understand.
system to
Care
be able
even.
to like challenge someone who's sitting on that side where it's your bread and butter? And I think that's why knowing is knowing, but really knowing to be able to action it in a way where it benefits us now.
There's knowing versus understanding. Okay, great. Thank you. Number two, SPO is really just code for agencies picking the cheapest path, not the best one. Let's start with Trevor.
I think it's false. For me, it's the best way of optimizing, the way you optimize your outcome, the outlay for the client. That's why we use it. It's not about the cheapest impression. It's the best outcome. So I would go with that, So that's my reason of saying false.
Saad?
Yeah, I agree. It's false, but again, what we're seeing more and more come from brands today is outcome-based briefs. I mean, it's either we have an exact KPI. So if we focus, whether it's viewability, top of mind, or other stuff like lower funnel outcomes, etc. So if you focus only on getting the cheapest inventory, you're not gonna hit your target. So it's false for me.
Swati?
So I think my answer to this is partly true, because I think from where we sit on the brand side, and I would say this really carefully, we obviously cannot audit any relationships that the agencies have, correct? But also to really be able to get that visibility into whether the whether within the SPO, when we say there is a preferred partner or where the system is being designed, whether it is for the benefit of us or whether it is really, in terms of the benefit of the agency to have the best margins or the best commercial relationships. And we're really not saying that this is happening, but like the structure is such that it can allow it. So for me, the answer would be partly true.
Okay, thank you. Patricia's been smiling the whole time, so I'm interested to see this.
I just really like that myth. It just sounds like an agency non-believer wrote that up. So
Ryan wrote this.
I
don't
love
know.
agencies. I love everyone.
I think we need to give the agencies a bit more grace in that regard because they're having to do a really difficult balancing act between efficiencies of scale and cost management, as well as the pressure to produce outcomes en masse. So when it comes to like relationship and brand management, that is all very much outcome based. And as Saad mentioned, they're getting a lot more briefs that's focused on outcomes. So it's like they're having to try and do both at the same time. So it's not always going to be the cheapest path. I think what they're trying to find is like the best path at the cheapest cost.
Fair. All right. So number 3, curation is just a fancy word for walled gardens. True or false? Let's start with Swati.
I think it's false because I really believe curation can genuinely improve quality. When like we work together, it can definitely, like Patricia was saying, because at the end of the day, we all have objectives, right? And we are working towards that objective to really reach that in the best way possible. I really believe that curation can improve quality.
Okay. Saad?
Agreed, 100%. What's what you said.
Cool. Patricia?
Yeah, I think it's false. I think curation can happen in and outside of walled gardens, and it's not packaged as a walled garden.
And Trevor?
Agreed. They all answered same thing. It's not about the walled garden.
We all agree on that one. Great.
But Ryan, just to again reiterate what was said before, it can be used as a walled garden. Yes, the stack, the technology, and all that allows it, but that's not the idea behind it. Especially for clients that are requesting working on SPO, optimizing, etc. Plus, if you get outcome-based briefs, it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, as long as you can achieve the targets, and unfortunately, the target gets more and more aggressive as we go. But does it matter? It doesn't. Meta is a walled garden, but still delivers results.
Yep. Yep. Fair point. Cool. So the final mythbuster. Made for advertising sites are mostly a US and EU problem, not a MENA one. Who wants to go first? I'm not going to pick on anyone this time. Yeah, Saad.
Sure. It is more common in the US, in the UK, in Europe, etc. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're all fishing from the same pond. I mean, yes, you have your regional, local content, but we do buy a lot of inventory that is from global publishers, etc. And again, like we said, the exchanges, I mean, the whole inventory is in one big market that we pick and choose from. So we do need to be very careful here as well about MFAs.
Patricia?
Yeah, I think it's false actually. And I think that it might be a little bit naive to think it is just a US and an EU problem, because time and time again, what we have seen is that there's this trend repetition, right? So things that happen in that region often then kind of like filters down into this region. So it might not be a problem heavily for this region now, but that repetition, I think, will probably happen. And also, we do have massive export advertisers here who based here and also buy globally. So whether it's like, a MENA or not problem, I think it kind of is.
Swati?
I think I agree with the teams. No, it is false because I think in any media space, we will always have this problem, also. But the thing is that probably in the EU and in the US, it's a much more aggravated problem. And it's come to the surface as well, where a lot of brands have also challenged the situation. And I remember there were like reading about it. I was actually discussing this with a friend the other day with like PNG and some brands. There was a lot of tiff with the advertising agencies as well. Here, it's probably not that big, but it it might become bigger once the media industry evolves and it, like grows to the extreme levels of where it is in the US and the EU right now. And it's not that openly spoken of as well. So it's not that big of a problem, but it definitely does exist.
Okay, thank you. Trevor?
I kind of align with Swati on one thing. It's a false statement first. And when she says MFA is not a largely spoken thing in the region, as a matter of fact, it's a growing concern, I think, in the region. We do take a page out of EU, US, or for that the SEA markets where this is a big issue. But as I see this will just increase over here as time goes in the next year or so. This will change over here where publishers will kind of drop down CPMs because of the inventory and the suppression of rates. It will affect. And that's when we need to see how we get governance across that space.
Makes sense. Okay, cool. So you guys are all fairly aligned on the myth busting, but let's
We're
get
not
to the real debate.
we're not getting an option to debate a lot, Ryan.
Don't
We just
worry.
had it.
I was just warming everyone up. Let's get to the real question. So agencies are building curation layers. Exchanges are building curated marketplaces. Brands want more control. So who should actually own the supply path decision? So in an ideal world, who decides which supply paths a campaign runs through? The brand, the agency, or the exchange? And why? I'm pausing to see who to ask this first to. Patricia.
I can go. I can go with that one. It's not as simple as like picking a single person. Like we're all players in this entire ecosystem, in this entire chain. So every voice within that matters. I think obviously it probably should be less the exchange. I think what the exchange can do is beyond obviously access, actually figure out like how they can find better quality relationships, what sort of added values they can actually put on top of access, because everyone almost has a very similar like inventory access. But actually, I think in terms of the actual supply path, a lot of that should be sitting with the demand side, both from the agency perspective as well as the brand perspective, in understanding actually which SSPs or which supply paths actually align with like our outcomes and want to work with us, and whether it's product development, curation that makes sense for our business objectives.
Makes sense. Anyone want to agree or challenge that?
I agree actually with I mean, the exchange, yes, but with less control. On the demand side, you should have more transparency, visibility, and control, especially for SPO. But I mean, there is a reason why I think the agency specifically should have I mean, more control. More control, I'm saying based on the question, but today they already have. That's because they sit, I mean, closer to the execution, and they know they have ton of data about the campaign performance, insights, etc. So they can optimize the activities as they go. Client, I think we already discussed, they're far from the day-to-day operations, so that visibility is limited. Therefore, the decisioning is not easy to be shared there.
Let me jump in. Also, I kind of summarizing what Patricia and Sar just said. It's accountability on different levels, right? The brand has to account for set standards. The agency needs to check those standards, translate them. Then you get the partners or the exchange houses who are when demonstrating those they need to demonstrate it by being honest and providing proper objectives to those. So the KPIs that are set. So that's how it comes across. So all three platforms, all three streams need to set their system very clear.
Swati, do you want to add anything? You're on mute. You're on mute, Swati.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was saying we want to be involved in a way. For example, I know what my brand's objectives are. When I work with the agency, I want to be involved in a way where I can support them actually to be able to really pick the right, publishers, pick the right, for example, publishing platforms so that my ad reaches the right person at the right time in the right way with the most effective budget. I don't want to be involved in a way where I am doing the actual plumbing work because honestly, like if I had to do the plumbing, I would open an agency of my own. I don't know. I cannot challenge. All I expect is have that level of transparency when I'm telling you I want to reach a parent with this kind of a psychographic mindset, because not only demographic. A lot of the times when we speak to the agencies, they're like, yes, we are able to reach a person, this age group, this living here, etc. But I'm like, when I have multiple brands, you need to be able to reach them in the right psychographic mindset and like signals as well. So as long as we work together like this, I don't want to be involved, but I want to be that invisible hand that can guide them. Please do it this way so that I really get those enrollments and I'm not just getting my impression counts. Because if I go back and tell them we reached 100,000 people, but I got 2 enrollments, my campaign is essentially not successful. So I think this is probably the guiding light that I would function with. But do I want to do the plumbing work? No.
Fair. As you said, that's why we have the agencies and the exchanges. Great. Okay. So, Trevor, when you are deciding where to allocate client investment, what makes you choose one exchange over another? Walk us through the criteria for keeping or cutting a supply partner from your investment plan.
Keeping or cutting a supply partner. I like that last line, Robert.
Keeping being the key word.
Okay, so as from an agency perspective at Radix, how we do it is we think about partners on a strategic partnership level, where they create genuine, demonstrable value for us, they create for the client, and how does the partnership should not be about today, it should be about tomorrow, how we kind of take that forward, and how does that add value to the brand growing. So first for us is the supply quality, the type of data, the transparency that the supply can give. The second, as I said, second is transparency. And we want partners to genuinely have that intent to partnering with us, it's not about business, it's not about commercial value. It's a genuine thing for us. One of the things that we strongly discuss with Radix is growth. How our name in itself means grow. And when we talk to partners, our main thing is tell us how we can grow with you and how we take that information to a client and we grow with each other, because I cannot grow without you, you cannot grow without me, and the client has to grow. So it's always about, and this is something I push the team at Radix also, is if you're going to partner, if you're going to talk to a client about a partner, take the partner with you. Have all three of us sit in the same room, build trust, demonstrate transparency, demonstrate honesty, and then from there take it forward. That's how I look at building genuine partnerships, and that's how I look at from that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Trevor. So from a tech stack point of view at Dentsu, how do you decide which exchanges make the list? Is that process genuinely about client outcomes, as we discussed earlier, or about consolidating control?
You keep firing at the agencies, but it's okay.
I just know that
Uh,
you have the best, you're the best person to answer these questions.
Consolidated control. Okay, so I mean, honestly, it's similar to also the reasons how Trevor picks a partner, you pick the tech as well. I mean, some of the stuff I can tell you, like our decisions day to day are based on, okay, so what's the outcome? We start from there. What's the outcome the client wants? Of course, let's get this out of the way. But again, after that, picking the partner has to do with the quality of the supply, which is everything we've just been talking about, SPO, maturity of the operating system that they have, and again, what Swati was saying about being able to identify the right audiences, etc. So identity capabilities within that ecosystem, and then measurement capabilities. So and then you check the boxes. As long as you have all these, you're at least in the short list. And then whoever has the best solution is the one selected. I mean, you can go with multiple, but usually the list is getting shorter and smaller.
Actually, that was going to be my follow-up question. Is there more consolidation happening just because of the tech expertise, or is it also from an operational point of view?
There is more consolidation. The reason behind it is, I mean, once you find the right solution, there's no need to go, because we just agreed that we all have access, like everyone, including the exchange, have more or less access to the same inventory. Now, once you identify the exchanges that have unique inventories, that's the first selection checked. And then as long as you can I mean, you can deliver on the rest, which is audience integration, ease of operation, reporting, etc., then you don't need more than one. Plus, consolidation has a lot of benefits financially, and reducing workload on the team, etc. So yeah, consolidation is the way the industry is going. Plus, I think a lot of us found out that if we keep going broad, we're either duplicating or making mistake. I'm gonna drop something a bit here. I don't know if you guys have read about it or not, but there was a news a while back that like it turned out that agencies were buying, for example, from Publicis, and the reason for that is you're buying so much, there's so much inventory there that's in different exchanges that are buying from each other, that once the audit was done, they found out that multiple agencies were ending up buying Publicis inventory. So yeah, clean up the house, reduce the number of partners, and then have a working relationship with them.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Swati, you said you don't want to know about how the plumbing is done. But what would you want to know?
No, I would want to know how the plumbing is done. I
Are you
wouldn't want to do it
are you willing to
because,
do it?
yeah. And honestly, and I feel like this whole agency brand relationship is based off trust as well, right? I would choose an agency and my partners, and I trust them. I look at them as an extension of my brand. And we're two sides. Like we devise the strategy and we devise the brand strategy. They devise the audience strategy. How does my brand message reach the right audience? And I think that is very important in terms of how we work cohesively as a team. So I really think like, for example, from in terms of like my inventory is bought, I really would want to be able to be involved in the governance, but I would leave it to my agency because really, if there is no trust, I don't think anything's going to be able to function, and I'm not going to get results. And as long as really I see that outcome, I see the ROI on every dollar and every budget being spent, and I feel whatever we are working together is fair, and it's disclosed, I know where it is going, we're fine with it. But again, like it's really a trust-based system. As when that is broken, it really leads to a lot of like mistrust. And then we start questioning everything. You didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. Where are my budgets spent? Then the agency will come back and tell me your creatives are not okay. You're not reaching the right audience. So yeah, I think this is really how we should be working to make the system more efficient.
I'd like to touch on what Swati said, an agency and a brand working in a cohesive unit. And that's something which takes brands on the next level because as an agency, you understand the brand's business more. If you sit outside the brand's business, I don't understand the brand's business, then you're not really working in the same ecosystem. I remember at one time at work, we used to tell the teams 2 or 3 days in a week, go spend with the brand, learn the brand, understand your client, understand the brand they work on, understand the pain points that they want. And from there, build on, get to build something beautiful. Because without that, SPO, no SPO, you cannot do anything because you do not understand the brand's business. So for an agency also and a brand to cohesively sit on that and do it is very important.
Okay, thank you guys. Patricia, you manage programmatic from the SSP side. Then now you're the one spending the money for Capital.com. Has your view of what makes a good supply path changed now that you're the buyer?
No. And I don't think, and it shouldn't change, right? Because like what like a good supply path is, I mean, we defined this at the start of the session, right? It's all around access, quality, like clean sort of like links in the chain. So that shouldn't change regardless of where you are sitting, or whether I'm in the agency or I'm in the SSP. I think what does kind of maybe change a little bit is, I guess, when you're in the SSP side, you're more focused on like, scale and access, right? You're trying to get as much scale and access so as many buyers want to be buying from you. And then on the buy side, you care about, which partner gives me the best chance to win that inventory efficiently and cleanly while also driving my business outcomes. So I don't think it's changed so much. Maybe who has the inventory starts to matter a little bit less, and who shapes the auction starts to matter a little bit more, because you start to think about signal quality, win probability, publisher prioritization and first look opportunities. All of these things come into play, but regardless, the good supply path is always going to be a good supply path. And I think now as in the brand side of things, my main focus is like a good supply path is the one that gives me consistent performance and confidence, and I'm actually reaching the end user in the most direct way.
Okay. And would you rather, or do you care if your agency buys media on your behalf as your agent, or are you comfortable with them buying inventory on their own balance sheet and reselling it to you? Does it matter as long as the results are there?
Honestly, I don't think I would be so comfortable with the latter. Just because I have been on that agency side as well. And I know how things can be curated. And my side, I think I want to have a bit more control. So I know that Swati mentioned, she's like, I don't care about the plumbing. I've been in the plumbing, so I care a little bit more about the plumbing. And I want to be part of some of those decisions that are being made. And I also think that, like Swati mentioned around the trust side of things. I think initially, once you're starting that SPO conversations, like you do want to be in the room with those conversations. You want to understand what's happening, and then you can offload that trust directly to the agency. If you're like, okay, cool, now I understand what's going on behind the scenes. I'm fully leaned in. Is this fully transparent? If it is, then great. Like I would happily allow you to buy for me. But until like I have that confidence, I would still want to be in that conversation.
Yeah. Swati, would you want to add anything to that?
I completely agree with Patricia because, when we say we don't want to be involved with the plumbing, I think this is a very important part of it, the prior to what happens in terms of the trust establishment with the agency. Because I would really not trust, but someone, if I'm working with a new agency, I would really get into the nitty-gritties of everything. But if that relationship has already been established, I would really give them the leeway to from the aspect of trust as well to guide me in the right way to do the right things for the brand. But of course, are my hands completely out of like the cooking up of the recipe? No, like they will still be involved to, because at the end of the day, we feel, and I think I've spoken to a lot of people on the brand side, that if you completely let go, it feels like, that lack of control sometimes in a way is a bit, I don't know, scary, because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. So when you're involved, it's like, yes, you've been a part of that decision making. So you're collectively responsible for what's going to happen at the end of the day in terms of the achievements as well. But really, trust plays a very, very big role. And that's why, most brands, the initial onboarding between the two are very important, like what Trevor was mentioning, the brand side and the agency side, to really understand how both sides function.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm hearing loud and clear that trust is super important, and so is transparency. Is the industry moving towards more transparency on how media is bought and sold, or is there still a big gap? Like Trevor, Saad, what would you say on that?
For me, it's definitely moving towards more transparency. Again, we go back to where we started the conversation saying what we've seen from global pitches. That's an eye opener for a lot of brands here as well. And we're seeing that more and more go from, procurement, putting that as I must have transparency, to having a whole section about, okay, how do you ensure transparency in programmatic, come presented to us as in the pitch for a couple of slides. So that's definitely a direction that we weren't seeing before. So transparency is the way this is progressing.
Agreeing with Saad, like, in the last 6 months to a year, the pitches that have come, the RFPs that have come across, it does a whole, on the commercial side, what is transparency? What is the kind of transparency you're going to commit to? The brands are looking for, on the technical side, for us to present how this is going to be incorporated. And, what are we committing in terms of transparency? What are we going to do, the lengths and breadths, and what are we going to kind of give them as options on these lines? So in this case, also, just not in mind, but partners become very important, because when we are committing on from a programmatic partners perspective, an SPO perspective, you need to understand the partners on your side also, because we're committing on different behalves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. So I'm just conscious of time. So we've got one final round. It's the quick picks round. Bit more fun this one. So two options. You pick one. No fence sitting. Right. 15 seconds to explain. Right. So A or B, fewer supply parts with higher quality, or more supply parts with lower CPMs. Swati.
Fewer supply parts with higher quality. Honestly, I really would reach 200 real parents than reach 100,000 impressions.
Saad.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Definitely fewer supply, better quality, pretty much.
Yeah. Patricia.
Yeah, same. I think if you're driving business outcomes, CPMs only take you so far.
And Trevor. I think it's
Better
going to be
quality,
someone.
it's
All right. These ones
Yeah,
are nice.
hit us with a hard one.
Hold on. I think I wanted it to end on a nice note, you know. Let's do the second one. Full log level data on every impression, or outcome-based reporting where you do not worry about the plumbing. Patricia.
Death by data. So I think I'd probably go with outcome-based reporting. I'm hoping that the work of trust and everything's already been built, but I think you can have as much data as you want. If you don't know what you're doing with it, it's kind of irrelevant. So it's like with all the data, there needs to be a plan of action. So I think outcome-based always trumps.
Swati.
Yeah, I think I would really outcome-based reporting, also because too much data will really lead to analysis paralysis. And in the digital world, it's so dynamic. We really need to make decisions on the go at times as well. So outcome-based reporting to really refine and be able to really be dynamic in terms of what we are doing.
Trevor.
Okay, so I'll defer log level data because from an agency's perspective, we need to understand plumbing as because then only we know the outcome is correct or incorrect. So, go for log level data.
I would go with both. Just outcome, yes, clients care about the outcomes, etc. But I mean, depending on the brand. There's some brands that are big and spend big spenders on, especially programmatic, that do want insights because log level data gives you a ton of insights about the audience, insights about every bid that goes there, etc. You do need a big setup. You need an analytics expert that can pull that data, put it into
Play with
something
it.
insightful, reporting, etc. But it depends on the brand. Outcome is the direction to go, but I'm saying if you can manage to have log level data insights, then it's something to do.
I'm going to have to get you off the fence for the next question, Saad. So, agency built curation using their own data or exchange curated deals using publisher declared data? To start with, Saad.
Go again, because that one seems like I need to be careful. Say again.
Agency built curation using their own data or
Mhm.
exchange curated deals using publisher declared data?
Both. Again, sorry. I mean, I know both, but I'll say why both, because I mean, I speak from an agency that is creating marketplaces to curate. I mean, let's talk about CTV. Like I use data to curate premium inventory for my client, bringing it all in one place, and the data sits with us. But at the same time, if it's declared data from the exchanges, why not? I mean, whatever deliver better results. It's not this or that. It's a combination of both. You want reach, but you also want to make sure in an ecosystem where you're looking at smaller publisher like CTV, you want to handpick, no?
Okay, and the last question will be no offenses for you, Saad. Swati?
I think even I'm on the fence for this one.
Oh,
Yeah. And my answer is very similar to Saad's. So yeah,
all
I'm
right.
on the fence.
Is anyone not on the fence?
Me.
Patricia, go on,
I'm not
Patricia.
on the fence. I think exchange curated using publisher declared data. For me, publisher declared data is closer to first party data and closer to the truth. So it makes the perfect baseline to build from.
Trevor, want to add?
I'm on the fence with this one with Saad, but I yet will go with what Patricia's saying, but the exchange curated data.
Okay.
It's a 70-30 split kind of a thing. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries. All right. This A or B isn't working as well as I'd hoped. So let's do one more. Regulation to enforce supply chain transparency or just let the market sort it out. Trevor.
It has to be regulated, I think, as for me. If there's no governance, then I don't know how the market will proceed. And there's so much of waste out there. Difficult.
These Swatis agreeing. Anyone disagree?
I think it's just let the market sort it out, just because innovation moves faster than regulation. And if you want to slow things down, I mean, compare how, I don't want to say something we're recorded, but I mean, look at Europe and how regulation is slowing a lot of the advancement across different technologies. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
It should be bought at the right time. Sorry, Patricia.
No, I was just going to say that I don't know when letting the market sort itself out has actually worked. It's just caused more chaos and confusion and like mismatch. And I think we shouldn't shy away from transparency. It just brings fairness to that supply chain.
Okay, I should have started with this question. Uh, all right, so we're nearly at time. 1 year from now, what's changing? So give me a prediction. How will programmatic supply chains in MENA look different 12 months from now? Give me half a minute each, please. Let's start.
I think like the most cliche one, but it's true, AI. So because we're seeing that happen start now, and 12 months is not a long time, but I do believe this is the period needed to see a massive transformation. So even Dentsu globally have already started, including us, adopting AI into curation. So algos and AI sit on the SSP side. They help you optimize based on outcome. They help you optimize based on the content you're appearing against, etc. So you already have the optimum inventory you need even before it touches your DSP for activation. And then in the DSP, you have another AI that's optimizing across all touch points. But I think the prior step is the biggest change that we're going to.
I kind of agree. I completely agree with that. But I also think what I'm expecting to happen in the next 12 months is for MENA to have a lot like a much more like local approach to supply path and supply chains, as opposed to pure adoption of whatever's going globally, or at least like the global agencies and global brands dictating that. So I think what we're going to see is a rise of localization in that regard.
Okay. And I
And
see
I
the
think just
question.
as a vision to add to this, because MENA is so big. I mean, we cannot really classify MENA as one country, right? Because when you look at the UAE versus Saudi versus Iraq versus Lebanon, every person, every country in MENA has different cohorts. So I think in the next 12 months, the vision at least is like Patricia's saying, to be more localized and personalized and really get the right signals for being able to connect with the right people, not just demographic, because demographic is still too vast, but really like get to know a bit the black box of the consumer that we're trying to reach and reach it in the right way with the help of AI. But really like micro level personalization would benefit a lot, because again, we did this strategy of like one approach fits all in MENA, but no, it truly doesn't.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
I think the bar will just rise, as everybody's saying it. It will just rise in MENA over the years. And as Swati said, there are multiple cohorts. Every market has its cohorts. UAE has its cohorts and everything. Local publishers will come into play more than global publishers, because that's where they give you that nuance or the cohort of the understanding of the audience that you want to target, the audience that you want to pursue, which doesn't sit on larger platforms. So that's where I feel the bar will rise in terms of local publishers also.
Thank you. I see we're pretty much out of time, but there's one question from Sibin. Thank you for the question, Sibin. He goes, will we have programmatic in 12 months, especially in MENA? So it's a bit of a worrying question, Sibin, considering how much you know about programmatic. What do you know that I don't know?
I'll say one thing about budgets. That's it. Definitely, one of the reasons clients are not as involved in programmatic curation, one of the reasons we spoke about all these, why we're a bit behind the other markets, etc., I think has to do also with budgets. A lot of the MENA budget go on social, much more than on open exchange, on web, etc., with the exception of YouTube, for example, and search. Most of it is on social these days. So I don't know if this is what we're talking about, but definitely it is a challenge that we see in MENA.
I kind of agree with Saad on that, because numbers is really high in terms of budgets going on social from clients now.
I know we're out of time, but how does everyone feel about it being such a social first market? Good thing, bad thing? Does it need to change? Do we need another hour for that question?
I think this needs a whole new session, really.
Yeah,
Ian?
it's quite a debatable conversation in terms of social first market, because uh, one, as Swati said, one shoe doesn't fit all. Would that be the right way to put it? Is it only because of convenience we're putting our budgets in social only? I don't know. No, that's a question for a larger audience.
Well,
Whole
we
new
have.
session. We have
Yeah,
so many points for
yeah.
this
There's
topic.
too many grays over there, bro. To
I guess
answer.
I can see Ian's like, oh, your time's up, and we can definitely do another session. But I want to
I
thank
was just stepping
everyone.
in to protect the investment behind social, to be honest. Um, it's what consumers want that matters, right? So I think it's and how do brands connect with consumers, and at the moment, social's done a better job, I think, of positioning itself in that way. And I think there's a job for programmatic to do. And part of it is calls like this, understanding the back office and building that trust that I think many of you spoke about. Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity, and I think it is an interesting topic for one of these sessions going forward, actually.